Oscar De La Hoya, the first time that it was evident trouble was starting to happen was when you made clear he was no longer welcome at your camp or other Golden Boy executives. What do you think of him today?
Mira, no me gusta hablar mucho de la gente, ni mucho menos, pero yo siempre he sido una persona muy leal. Y siempre lo fui con Golden Boy y todo. Él no es Golden Boy. Él no hace nada en Golden Boy. Porque él se está preocupando en tomar y andar en otras cosas y eso. Él no es Golden Boy. Las decisiones las toman otras personas. Cuando se fue Richard Schaefer de Golden Boy, se llevó a todos los peleadores a PBC.
And you and Richard were close.
Yeah. Se los llevó a todos y a mí también me quiso llevar. Y fue el único peleador que se quedó en Golden Boy. Porque yo soy un hombre leal. Pero entonces después entendí por qué se fueron todos y por qué se fue Richard Schaefer. Porque los que están en Golden Boy nada más quieren ver su beneficio, no el de los peleadores.
Those are the words of Canelo Alvarez in his own words. As you guys, I know a lot of you don't speak Spanish, but Canelo Alvarez explained that Oscar De La Hoya started the change because he was more worried about drinking than taking care of his stable of fighters, his promotional company. He said drinking and otro cosas and other things, right? And I know what the other things are, the substance abuse besides the alcohol. So you could read between the lines with that. That gives you a pretty good idea of what he was speaking of. And Richard Schaefer, of course, he went with Al Heyman. And Al Heyman, took those stable of fighters, and of course a lawsuit began because of that, because a lot of these fighters left Golden Boy. Golden Boy was like where PBC is right now. That was Golden Boy. You look at fighters like Danny Garcia, Deontay Wilder, those guys were with Golden Boy first, okay, and they all followed Richard Schaefer over to the PBC, okay, and according to Canelo Alvarez, a lot of those fighters left and they followed the tutelage of Richard Schaefer because Richard Schaefer was running Golden Boy, not Oscar De La Hoya. If you guys can remember when Canelo Alvarez, when he lost to Floyd Mayweather, right? He had to go to rehab. So he wasn't even there because he was in rehab, trying to get himself together or whatnot. But those are one of the examples of how he wasn't even intact to be there in the biggest fight of his talent's career, to be present there for support, and showing his duties as a promoter. He wasn't even there. He wasn't fit enough to be there. So, but of course, where he was talking about, this was later before. So this was before the rehab stints and those things, and how he was the only one that stayed with Golden Boy. He was the only fighter, and I guess it paid out for a certain degree, but I mean, Canelo Alvarez would have done a lot or good anywhere. Let's put it that way. He would have excelled anywhere because he's just that type of fighter. I mean, he's been with the same trainers. He stayed loyal to his trainers. He stayed loyal to his promotional company. And this is a tell-all. And De La Hoya is a guy. He was a fighter, and he always had problems with substance abuse. Okay, that's a given. He always had problems with, the bottle and otra cosas, right? Other things. So, and Canelo Alvarez, for the most part, this is big news because this is one of the first times that Canelo spoke openly about De La Hoya. If you notice when he was with De La Hoya, they would ask him questions about what does he feel about this? What does he feel about that? These personal things and affairs with Oscar De La Hoya. And he would always say the same thing. We have a business relationship and I only talk about business, no comment. But of course, now he is with Eddie Hearn with a new structured deal with DAZN, okay, after he left Golden Boy. And he is pretty much a free agent. And he says it's the best thing he could have done. I mean, that's the best thing for any superstar. Because then you don't have to let a network or anybody dictate what and where and who you're supposed to fight. You can do it on your own terms, which is absolutely empowering. Okay. Canelo Alvarez, you know, he stuck to his guns and he now is exposing Oscar De La Hoya and his shenanigans. However, you know, we had a good idea about Oscar De La Hoya anyway. But this is the first time that Canelo Alvarez came through and out with this type of information. You know, and it took a while. You know, I mean, he left Oscar De La Hoya, what? January, December, something like that. So, you know, it took him a while, but at least he was open about Oscar De La Hoya and the things. And he says, you know, hey, he wasn't really loyal to him. So, because there was a lot of undershaded deals that he didn't know about. And that's why Canelo Alvarez felt that he had to, you know, speak up for himself because he knew he was in the right situation, you know, and it shows you about business and when when you're young, because Canelo Alvarez was very young when he went to Golden Boy, you know, and it also shows the loyalty of Canelo Alvarez. You know, when he lost to Floyd Mayweather, he stayed with the Reynosos, Chepo and Eddie, right? Reynoso. And, you know, and Golden Boy, he stayed with Golden Boy. He stayed with Golden Boy through all this drug addiction and things of that nature, where other fighters would have disassociated themselves with Oscar De La Hoya at that time. You know, the moment when scandals and stuff like that and obscene pictures and those type of things would, you know, come about, you know, he still stayed with Golden Boy, which was, that's by that alone, okay, is a miracle. I mean, let's just be real. By that alone is a miracle because, you know, when you have those type of embarrassing things like that, and I know a lot of people been in embarrassing things, but scandals when you're a celebrity, that hurts because, you know, the thought of knowing how many people saw those type of pictures and things of that nature where he spiraled out of control and onto whatever substance he was on, you know. But, you know, honestly, I think, seriously, I think Oscar De La Hoya, you know, was really great. He should be really grateful to have Canelo Alvarez and have the loyalty that he had when he had him. But all things come to an end, okay? Especially with negotiations like this, you know, especially when you try to, you know, do shady deals behind your superstar fighter's back. And this is where you end up, okay? De La Hoya, I mean, Golden Boy is nothing like where it used to be. When they lost Canelo Alvarez, they knew they lost one huge client, okay? If you were a talent agent, that's like losing Brad Pitt or Will Smith. You know what I mean? So, but it's interesting to hear Canelo Alvarez tell all about the dirty things in Golden Boy with Oscar De La Hoya. I will leave the link below, let you guys check it out. It's Graham Bensinger, okay? And this is a tell-all interview about what he went through as a kid throughout his career up to now. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Canelo Alvarez explaining the dirtiness and the underhanded things about Oscar De La Hoya with Golden Boy. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.